My name is Michael Miller. This is a Michael Miller trademark training video out to you because you're watching. Thank you and welcome. It's meant for Michael Miller Pilates licensed affiliates, the Cornu Core, my patrons, Clayton, Ruby, Stephanie, and Jonathan, and anyone interested in surviving and thriving as a Pilates instructor or student. Just 3 things today. Number 1 is, this is all about you. Number 2 is common knowledge. And number 3 is MMP POV. Okay? And then my summary is protect yourself, but I'm not sure at all what I meant by that. Other than perhaps having knowledge as a means of protecting yourself. So let me back up. Number 1, this is all about you. So this is all about you. From within the context of who I'm broadcasting to, it's about survival. It's about surviving as a Pilates instructor, and Pilates itself, from the MMP point of view, is about survival, right? Joe is a survivor. His method is survival training. Simple as that. Now, when it comes to your survival and your involvement with Pilates, you know, I made a list of, well, the first thing is don't get hurt. See, the more talented you are in your body, the easier it is to skate out onto ice that's thinner than you realize and incur a load that causes injury and strain because you weren't aware of the sensibilities of working within your range. And that if you didn't or don't, what happens? You get injured. So the first thing in terms of Pilates at all, in your involvement in it, if this is all about you, is don't get hurt. My mantra has always been, don't do anything that hurts and stop when you want. But beyond that, if you're going to survive as a Pilates instructor, a lot of that comes down to how much fun you have. Well, no, I skipped one. The most important one I skipped. Because don't get hurt yourself, and then as an instructor, don't hurt others. That's where a huge blanket of intimidation comes in saying, you don't know what you're doing, you could hurt someone. And in my opinion, that's true of anyone, of any experience, at any level. Even though the more inexperienced you are, the more likely it may be to happen. In the moment of the instructing, there is always the risk. Right? The more that becomes apparent to you as an instructor, the more you hope good vibes are on your shoulder as you seek to be the instructor. So not getting hurt, not hurting others. How much fun you have. It's not fun. Why show up? Oliver's passing coming up this Friday, I think. Maybe Saturday. So in terms of surviving as a student or as an instructor, it helps not to hurt other people, and then it helps to have good results. So your survival goes from not getting hurt yourself to not hurting others to what kind of results you get, right? Oh, I didn't talk about how much fun you have, I did. And then your ability to walk among kings and fools. Your ability to walk among kings and fools. Because most of the Pilates court is coming from common knowledge that isn't like the private knowledge you possess if you know about CT and MMP. So it's about you, survival, and coming down to knowledge, and that brought me to number 2. Okay, common knowledge. I'm dying to do this, I guess, because there's an ad for a workshop where Joe is in the middle, and then there's all of these branches. So Joe's picture and pictures of elders of Pilates, or people that worked with Joe and sought to continue it on, right? That are all passed away, and then there's one, I should name it SL, still living, right? And all of that is true, and all of those who have passed away that sought to pass on before they did, what they got from their experience with Joe and Pilates, right? If first-hand knowledge of him were the only thing that mattered, then indeed it would be good to swim upstream and meet somebody that has a direct association with Joe. Because tradition in common knowledge is all that you have and all that matters. And the sole base of authority and legitimacy are these people that sought to pass on what heretofore has not been explained, except by yours truly, as early as 2000, the year 2000, uniform eccentric loading flowing through progressive patterns of movement. That's right out of Joe's book, right? No, Joe didn't write that. That's okay. Joe. 3 things from Joe in the book that I have. And then an identification of core new tension and and a point of view of Pilates called MMP. See, okay, it's an ideal point of view. And an ideal point of view taken right out of Joe's book is different than seeking points of view from people that were familiar with those different lineages. All good and all part of the flavor and texture that humanity brings with it, with its attention. What's my number 3? I had 4 really, because, alright, so common knowledge is solely based on the notion of archive, and that it's the history, and it's anybody that reached back to and knew Joe that matters and has any credibility at all is to what extent you're connected to the history. Yeah, I can say I'm up for that. What's not common knowledge is a point of view of Pilates that comes right from Joe's book to you. So the MMP POV is private knowledge that you're aware of, that most don't know about, and that private knowledge is a point of view that takes three things right from Joe's book and gets to an ideal that you can feel. So my number 4 is make money presenting. And why do I say that? Because I want you to teach what's most important to me as a professor, as an instructor, as what I want you to, as a teacher, what I want you to take away has clearly been defined over the last 3 years as an understanding of CT and MMP. I hopefully have made a case that they are distinctive and different than what currently exists within common knowledge. And as such is the reason that you can offer to make a presentation to anybody that might be interested in how their body engages itself to move through space, the biomechanics of core tension, or a point of view of Pilates that is based on a theory, there's an ideal taken out of the, off of, or based on the evidence in Joe's book. As the tsunami of Pilates passion continues to intensify and everybody's driven to share and to make money at what they're doing and then also to distinguish themselves with some sense of credibility that when you say you're teaching Pilates, that there is something to that. That there's something to Pilates itself, I guess. On the spectrum of Pilates has an essence of its own to Pilates has no essence of its own. That's a spectrum of how to look at Pilates through the eyes of having essence. It's much easier to make money with the abstractions of Pilates that came about from Friedman and Eisen's efforts with Ramana's help of just principles. The MMP point of view of Pilates is that it's an experience. And the experience is Joe's definition. And the way you get there, the means of getting there, is through Joe's statement that contrology develops the body uniformly. And that the pursuit of the choreography is the target of your movement. You're seeking to do the movement. So make money presenting. Go on udemy.com and download How to Survive as a Pilates Instructor to get the PowerPoint presentation covering these 5 things. Learn some sign language some MMP sign language, and you have at your disposal, this may seem preposterous to you, but at your disposal, an invitation to explain a couple of things that might be interesting to anybody that's interested in how the body moves for the CT, and then a point of view of Pilates that is transcendent because it goes beyond the norm or of what's there in a different way. It transcends it because it looks at Pilates based on not a tradition of lineages as much as, no, other than, it's an explanation. It's an explanation. In the absence of one in any of those lineages. Pilates pretty much has gone unexplained and been able to absorb the end of the spectrum where it's suitable not to have it explained or not to be explainable. So maybe that's what I mean by protect yourself as a summary. It's about you, it's about survival, and it's about knowledge. And being aware of some other point of view or some other way to look at Pilates than through lineages of deceased members. The essence of Pilates, if it has one, will be what it is and always has been forever. And to me, that's seeking the experience of coordinating, being, thinking, and observing. And you struggle to do that. You dive into the effort of doing that. Because it's very tough to get to or maintain. And yet the more you do it, the more your ability to resonate and get to it seems to improve. The more presence you're able to maintain. So, I would say, to survive as an instructor, watch what's held as common knowledge, and then watch that change in any field of endeavor of human understanding, and then watch whatever is private knowledge then take over as common knowledge. Because I'm proposing that CT will become common knowledge, and to the extent that it becomes common knowledge, the whole point of view of MMP will take on more credibility. We'll see. But I don't think I'll be around to see that. For you to survive, it's all about you. Knowledge is a key thing. Don't let the knowledge go to your head, because the true knowledge of what you know is about holding the curtain aside for the sake of humanity. Life can't live forever. Read between the lines. See behind the curtain. Add 2 and 2. I ever wonder where I want my tripod to be. Maybe there is better. What do you think about that? Add two and two. Evaluate points of view. The MMP POV stands out. It's not looking at history and, I mean, it's fun to do it. Okay, and that's where, and I don't have that as a title. For the most part, you might look at what's going on now within common knowledge is historical reenactment. And all of the efforts are to do reenactment of history based on lineage and generation. MMP steps out of that way of looking at things. It says, hold the phone. You can explain it this way, and because you can explain it this way, and it makes a lot of sense, and there's nothing to explain it that makes more sense, Occam's razor shows up and says, well, this might be the way it really is. So evaluate points of view and understand knowledge and one way of perceiving things versus a different way of perceiving things, and the kind of knowledge that you're blending and it's shifting between one and another. That goes back to yesterday with run, boy, run, and recognize the knowledge that you have. Because life can't live forever. Add two and two. Direct your thinking and Geist.